Hello, I am Simulator Deck, and welcome to Japan. Welcome to a Shinkansen cab as another one arrives. We are in Sendai, platform 12. This is a E5 series. Let's have a look out the front. Now we have to play a game of find where's the train. Oh, gee, look at that. We'll turn our lights on. Can we do that? There we go. Let's get in our cab. Let's open the doors. It's a long nose, isn't it? Sendai, platform 12. There we go. We are almost ready to depart. We'll get back in the cab. We'll wait for the doors to close. Let's have a look at the cab. Very simple looking cab, it has to be said. So let's go into forward. We'll take our brakes off and we'll start the power. Now our first waypoint is in 38 kilometres. Initial speed of 80 kilometres an hour, but this will just till we clear the station area, I would say. Now, people have been saying for years, where's the Shinkansen? Where's the Japanese bullet trains? Well, they are finally here. The future has arrived, and here we are. And I'll be very interested to see how this goes on the Chinese high-speed lines that we've tested high-speed trains on before. Now, as always, my knowledge of Japanese is basically non-existent. But we will see how we go. Now, I am doing this sight unseen. I've never driven this route, never driven this train on Train Simulator before. Okay, that sounded like a happy beep. 10 notches of power. Up to 160 we go. So we're getting there pretty quickly, so we better shut off quickly. 151 kilometres an hour. So if we go, turn our HUD off and we go outside. Oh yeah, I don't know how that's going to go because we're up there and not on ground level. That's the back. Look at that view. Can't see a lot of the outside from the cab because of the sound barrier. So we've got a 320 kilometre an hour section coming up. So I'm not really going to worry about speeding up at the moment. I don't know how much bird chirping I'd actually be able to hear from the cab of a Shinkansen, but I can hear birds chirping in the headphones. Actually, don't know how much you'd be hearing at all because it's pretty quiet inside, and I've obviously never been inside the driver's cabin of one of these trains, but I can imagine it'd be pretty quiet. That's a happy beep. Now we can go up to 320 kilometers an hour. So if we have a look at our screen from what I can figure in front of us, .320 kilometers an hour is our track speed allowed, which is in yellow. Our progress is in blue. We've just clicked over 200 kilometers an hour. So it looks like the maximum on that's 330. And I suppose as a driver you just get used to this speed after a while. Once you've been trained and everything, you would just get used to what it actually feels like and what the actual speed is. Whereas for someone who is Australian and only goes at these speeds when I'm overseas, driving trains at 320 kilometers an hour is absolute fantasy world. Looks like we're about to go through a tunnel according to the trap map at the bottom. It's one of the benefits of the Shinkansen program, that instead of going around and up and down a mountain, they were just able to go through it with these tunnels. There's one of our colleagues in the opposite direction. So we'll just shut off here. Now I'm driving this route completely blind. Haven't done any of the video, haven't watched any of the videos or read anything about things that I should be doing, etc. So this is the first time I'm just getting in, just using my general train simulator experience, using my driving experience, and just going from there. So there may be things that I'm doing wrong, there may be things that I haven't done correctly, there may be things that I don't know. But on 3 different screens I can see that I'm doing 305 kilometers an hour at the moment. You wouldn't even be trying to look. You wouldn't even be trying to look at what's happening down the sides. You know what's happening left and right. You just have tunnel vision, so to speak, of what's going on straight ahead, and I'm pretty sure the train's been designed for that purpose deliberately. All right, we'll shut off now. And by shutting off, we've almost lost 20 kilometers an hour already. Well, that's 320. Now they have worked out, I don't know the exact speeds, but they have worked out with track signals that there is actually a limit to, doesn't matter what sort of signals they are or how far apart or that or whatever they are, there is actually a limit to how fast a human eye can pick up these signals when they're beside the track in the traditional form. So high-speed rail tends to use in-cab signalling. Now, I don't know Japanese, obviously, and I'm not an expert on their in-cab signalling system, but so far so good. I have driven actually a earlier model Shinkansen simulator at the Railway Museum, just I think it's South Tokyo, and if you go too fast, actually let's just try it. If you go too fast, the voice will come on and it will slow you down. Let's see what happens. Now it is letting me go over the speed limit. In the electric multiple unit, in the last episode, we're able to go 14 kilometers an hour over track speed. But it's not really letting us go that much over track speed, so we'll just shut off. So our next waypoint is in 40 kilometers. No doubt that there are things that I am missing. Signals still appear on the track map at the bottom of the screen, but they'd be more just transponders transmitting the information to the train rather than signals that you can actually see, especially this sort of speed. Alright, we're speeding again, so let's just shut off. Now it is possible that we haven't turned some things on. I will watch a couple of videos and we'll see what happens. See if there are things that I need to do. There may actually be a cruise control function that I'm missing. And plus, I don't really know what's clickable, what's not clickable at this point. our speeds dropped. I suppose for many, here comes another Shinkansen in the other direction. Oh, it stopped at the station. Some Shinkansen stop at more stations than others. I haven't had to stop at a station yet, but that's going to be interesting. So I'm in power notch 4. And that seems to be maintaining 320 kilometres an hour nicely. There's so many different tunnels that the trains go through, so they can just speed through mountains. That had to do so much work in relation to that. So our speeds dropped a little bit. Our next waypoint isn't for another 10 kilometres yet. We will attempt other scenarios where we have to stop at more stations. I think with this one we just go to one station and then we get off. Have done a couple of Shinkansen trips before. The first time I went to Japan, I took one from Tokyo to Hiroshima and back. And then I went on the second trip, I went as far north as I could on the main island to Amori. Took about 3 hours, 700 kilometres. And what I didn't know, or what I didn't realise on that trip, was that in Tokyo for the few days before, it had been snowing. But on this particular day when I decided to do this trip, it wasn't snowing in Tokyo. It was cold, but it wasn't as cold as when it was snowing. So I decided to go as far north as I could on a Shinkansen at the time, which was to Amori, 700 kilometres north of Tokyo. Now what I didn't realise and I didn't think of at the time until I got there, just because it wasn't snowing in Tokyo and it wasn't relatively cold in Tokyo compared to the previous few days, the further north you go in Japan, the colder it gets. And so I was absolutely struggling. It was 0 degrees, snow was falling, and I was just basically wearing a t-shirt and a hoodie compared to a snow jacket that I was wearing the day before, and it was cold. So here's another waypoint. Now our next waypoint isn't for another 42 kilometres. So we're heading towards Katakami now. And we won't even see any of the local trains that are running underneath us. But I will do some more research and bring you more on upcoming episodes. I'm going to enjoy this. And we are going to have to compare the different high-speed trains now that I have on Train Simulator. As an actual bridge. Haven't seen one of those. So needless to say, I was very cold that day, and I was happy to get back on. I was happy to get back on the train. But what often happens is that the Shinkansen will pull up at the Shinkansen station, but that's not necessarily always in the centre of the city. So sometimes you have to get a local train to get to the centre of the city, which is what I did, and that's when I absolutely froze. Like, I didn't spend a lot of time there. I was there for a couple of hours maybe. But it was just fun to be able to get on a train and not dawdle along at an average speed of 60 kilometres an hour. You know, I love high-speed rail travel. It's just a shame that in Australia I'll probably never get to ride on genuine high-speed rail. The fastest we can go in my home state of New South Wales is 160 kilometres an hour, and that's very limited. The national record is about 220 kilometres an hour in Queensland with their electric tilt trains. But absolutely nothing in this league at all, and probably never will be. You can see just how, you can imagine just how much expense over many, many years that the Japanese have gone to build these systems. And I'm pretty sure that I've seen some of the smaller villages that get bypassed by the Shinkansen. They're not necessarily in favour, but it can certainly make travel a lot more convenient, a lot more safer, a lot more quicker than what ran before. Now, I've never been up the front of a bullet train before, but I can imagine this is just what it'd be like. Kilometre after kilometre high speed running, going in and out of tunnels. And the track speed hasn't really changed since we left Sendai. We had the initial 80 zone, then we went into 160, and then it's 320 kilometres an hour there on so far. Lots of viaducts. I'm sure to a Shinkansen driver this is purely routine. Let's see what's down below. Oh, we can! Look at that! We'll keep this view for a while. You can see the aerodynamic cab that we're sitting in. Oh, this is heading to Shinomori, which is where I went to on the Shinkansen. See if we can get the ins. Oh, look at this! Oh, this is a sneaky ad. Union Workshop. Thanks for supporting Union Workshop, which is the... Can we look around? Oh, this is cool. Some Japanese kanji characters coming up. Now, I thought it might have been actual train information. But it looks like... Are we sitting backwards? Alright, let's just watch this screen for a bit. Obviously, I can't read any of that. One thing that Japan has been good at, in my experience, is that they will have English translations for a lot of things, especially for things that are especially for trains, etc., that are leaving Tokyo. However, locally, the further north or the further south, the further away you go from Tokyo, which is what I probably should have said in the first place, the further away you go from Tokyo and the big cities, the less obvious English is. Let's go back to the cab. Now, our speed has dropped a lot because we haven't been paying attention, so let's put the power down. We're 100 kilometers an hour under the speed limit. Just because we didn't have any power at all while we were looking inside and outside. So we're coming up to our next waypoint. So local Shinkansen stop on the outside, express running through. So we've got 46 Morioka, platform 13 is the stop in 46 kilometers time. Bit rocky there. Alright, let's get out of the power. Oh, so when we're powering, the screen on the right hand side, when we're powering, a green bar comes up over the carriages, over the carriage numbers. We'll see if I can zoom in. So if we power now, So by reading that, cars 2 through to 9 power, and cars 1 and 10 don't. So 390, 320 will shut off there, and then that indicates to me that we're not powering anymore. Now I don't know how clickable things are in the cab. So our speed's reduced because I'm doing that on purpose. Now let's power up. So I also wonder, let's try this, we'll shut off. See the green light's gone off. Now if we brake, okay, it changes to orange. Okay, that's interesting. So that's a very visual guide. That's a very visual guide of the power status of the driver and how they're powering or braking. So we're powering at the moment. Now we'll shut off. Well, who knew that they had horns? Wow, I could not imagine you wouldn't be able to do this view in real life. So because you're going higher speed, everything is simplified just so you can register what you're actually looking at those speeds. So we'll drop the power a little bit because we are right on 320. 320! So our speed's dropping a little bit, even though we're flat. Now, as we get close to Moriaka, it'll be interesting to see if we get gradual reductions in our speed as we get closer to the station. We're going too high, too fast. So that's a good audio indication as well. a bit choppy at the moment. Don't know what that noise was. And what's also been obvious is that there's been no trains out of us because we haven't had to slow down. And I'm pretty sure that they would be timetabled far enough. Uh-oh, what do we got coming up? We've got something coming up, so I've shut off accordingly. Looks like we've got a reduction in the speed limit coming up. I think we need to start braking for it. The HUD down the bottom of the screen can't keep up, I don't think, with the new speed zone possibly. So if we zoom in, we should be doing 160. So our speed's coming down nicely. Oh, so that was the advance warning for 160. 160's just appeared on the strip map down the bottom. So this is the reduction in speed that I was thinking would be happening. Still registering that we're in the 320 km/h zone at the moment. The braking curve wants us to get down to 160, which is what we've done. And then once we enter that 160 zone, the 320 on the screen above will disappear and that'll turn into 160, I'm guessing. Okay, so it's telling us that we've got another speed restriction, another speed zone change coming up, so we need to start braking for it. So that looks like, yeah, 80. So there's a speed zone reduction coming up to 80. But it's giving us advance warning because we are coming up to the station, so they reduce the now this just seems ridiculously slow compared to what we were just doing. The 80 hasn't come up on the... Oh, it's just starting to come up now on the strip map at the bottom of the screen. So maybe we didn't need to brake when we did, but I was just using that as an indication. Now we know for a fact we're going to have a nice long platform to work with. We've got a 10 carriage train. All the stations are purpose built for the length of train that they are. So we're coming into the station, 2 kilometres to go. Just coming in nice and slow. We probably did brake too early, but I think that's the idea. That you've got some advance warning that it is coming, so you can get down to the speed and not be taken by surprise. Now, it would be interesting to find out if we, for instance, weren't timetabled to stop at Morioka. Would this still be 80 kilometres an hour? You know, if we weren't stopping here like we've stopped at some of the other stations, would we have to go at 80 kilometres an hour? We'll have a look when we get there. There may be the section where you've got the 2 main lines down the centre. Alright, we're coming up to the 80 now. So we're getting... So we've got a nice long platform to work with. So we're just going to come in nice and easily now. So there's our markers. Alright, so we'll open up. So there's our trains. That's us on the left. Sorry, that's us camera right on platform 13. Now, one thing to note, maybe I'm on the wrong camera. That's the camera that I need to be on, camera 2. Now it says test run. So we've pulled up pretty well. Our doors have closed. So somebody else has taken the train. We've been relieved. And here we are. So I hope you have enjoyed that episode. We will be watching we'll be watching some videos if I can find them in relation to how to operate the Shinkansen and also the 701 class electric multiple unit that we drove on the previous episode. We'll see how we go there, and that will be cool. Anywho, I've been Simulator Dirk. You've been wonderful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and bye bye for now.